Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, South Africa's president vows to come down hard on anyone who's attacked foreigners during last week's bout of violent xenophobia in Kwazulu Natal province, in which 3 people were killed. Also, Algeria's beleaguered and ailing leader vows to step down before April 28th, but Abdelaziz Bouteflika hasn't given a date after weeks of protests against his 20-year rule. And home is where the art is. Private homes in the Unesco heritage site of Goree Island in Senegal open their doors to outsiders as they're turned into temporary galleries for local creators. But first, on Monday, South Africa's foreign minister and police minister held crisis talks with several African diplomats to discuss a ramping up of hostility towards foreigners settled in the country. At least 3 people were killed and hundreds of others forced from their homes in Kwazulu Natal last week after xenophobic protests broke out. High unemployment has made some immigrant communities the focus of anger for poor South Africans. Immigration and xenophobia have both become highly politicized topics. Shirley Sitman tells us more.
For South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, decisive action must be taken against xenophobic attacks rattling the country again. He has called to identify perpetrators of last week's violence and to prosecute them. 3 people were killed when stores owned by foreign nationals were looted in Durban. Hundreds of people originally from Malawi have had to evacuate their homes for their own safety and gather outside police stations and in mosques. Last week's xenophobic attacks were the first since the year started, but the country has had several waves of violent looting, ignited by difficult living conditions, unemployment, and poverty. President Ramaphosa said Monday that South Africans need foreign nationals because they contribute to the economy. For the South African president, the attacks are all the more shocking in these times when the country is preparing to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the end of the apartheid regime, because people from across Africa backed the liberation movement. We owe our freedom to their solidarity and support, said Ramaphosa.
The number of cholera cases reported in Mozambique in the wake of Cyclone Idai has rocketed up from 139 at the end of last week to at least 1,052 on Monday. Although hundreds of people are falling ill every day, so far only 1 death has been confirmed. Authorities are trying to head off an epidemic, and a huge vaccination campaign is due to start on Wednesday. Now, that'll first target the city of Beira, where 959 cases of cholera have been logged so far. Beira was practically razed to the ground when Cyclone Idai swept through the country on March 14th, killing more than 700 people. Well, after weeks of mass protests against his regime, Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika on Monday said that he would quit before April the 28th. Thousands of people have taken to the streets every week, calling for new leadership in a country that's had Bouteflika at its helm for 20 years now. The 82-year-old's bad health has not helped, but many demonstrators also want to see the back of the entire ruling elite. On Sunday, the interim prime minister named a caretaker cabinet, but that's been rejected by the opposition as being more of the same. Bouteflika's not given an exact date yet for his exit. Our correspondent tells us more.
So far, we've noticed no reactions in the street for the moment, but in social media, a lot of questions are asked by people. News are shared instantly, and social media users react. Just to give you an example, MSP opposition party just declared that Bouteflika's resignation could be a conspiration against people demands. Experts consider this resignation as an anticipation of Article 102, and which gives more prerogatives to the supposed leaving government. It's true that this was one of people's demands, but people in social media react suspiciously, wondering why would the president resignate days before the end of his term. Let's remind that the new government appointed by the president yesterday is completely rejected and considered illegitimate. The people are wondering why the government is so unpredictable and say that its decisions do not correspond to what the people claim. This is an important thing to mention today, is that when the announcement has been done, there has been no date. People are wondering why there is no a date. So they want to go in the street on Friday. This is what they are asking for. And social media, they still continue to say they will go in the street on Friday to ask another time that all the government has to leave, actually. So now they are wondering why there is no date mentioned by the communique of the presidents of the Republic.
In other news, after years of tension with Mauritanian coast guards, a deal struck last year between Nouakchott and Dakar gave Senegalese fishermen the green light to once again cast their net in their northern neighbours' teeming waters. The agreement came as a relief after the granting of licences to Senegalese fishermen were suspended in 2017.
After years of uncertainty and tension, these Senegalese fishermen are free to roam once more. A scarcity of fish in their own territories forced them into fishing in the waters of their neighbour to the north, Mauritania. But now they can do so without fear of retribution.
Before, we were fishing illegally in Mauritanian waters. We were uneasy. We would run off whenever we saw the Coast Guard's flashlight. Thank God there's now a deal in place.
The situation was souring relations between the two countries. Senegalese fishermen often refused to be officially registered and were reluctant to land their catches in Mauritanian ports. Last year, one fisherman was even killed by Mauritanian coast guards. But now, 400 Senegalese fishing boats are licensed to operate offshore, subject to taxes and a quota of the catch that must be reserved for the local market.
The quantities will increase, everyone will benefit. The small traders who could only have 50 kilos of fish per day will have 100. The companies that were processing it will go from 1 to 2 or 3 tons. The state will benefit from it. Instead of 5 containers, companies will pay tax to export 10 containers. The benefits are wide-ranging.
The return of the Senegalese is expected to lead to lower prices in the local markets, as well as reviving the fishing industry in general, a sector that has not always been highly valued by Mauritanians.
There are 52 companies here in Nouakchott that weren't operating before. They were working at 10%, 20% of capacity. Now they will work at 80%, and they will increase employment.
For now, all parties seem to be happy with the deal, with many staking their livelihoods on it being in place for a long time to come.
Now, Goree Island in Senegal is a UNESCO heritage site, in part because of its use as a slave trading centre, where it's believed millions of Africans were forced onto ships and into servitude. But the cultural value of the island goes beyond that dark period in the world's history. Today, it hosts an annual event where thousands of people flock to its colonial houses as they're turned into galleries to showcase local artists' work. Our correspondents sent us this report.
This is my home. You're now entering one of Goree's beautiful houses.
Olivier's villa dates back to the 19th century. Welcoming visitors inside is an opportunity to show off the colonial architecture typical across the island and his incredible view.
It's a pleasure to open our doors to people. Goree is a hub. We have a lot of people that come and go, that say hello, that come to spend the weekend. The open courtyards make living here very lively and a bit artistic. Very artistic, in fact.
On show in the courtyard are the works of this Senegalese artist.
It's upcycling. I repair bikes, mopeds, but the old stuff I turn into works of art. Because for a long time I cared for them in my father's workshop, and in the end, I fell in love with them.
40 houses turned into individual art galleries hosting 80 artists make up the 12th edition of Regard sur Cour. The main exhibition is dedicated to Koumara Gaye and Soli Cissé, 2 Senegalese artists of international renown. For the organisers, it's an opportunity to showcase Goree with its historic past rooted in the slave trade in a different light.
To enter into these beautiful homes that are such a mix of cultures, like this one we're in now, and presenting artists, it's important. And it's the future. We mustn't forget the past, but we have to move forward.
From the colourful streets to the courtyards full of artworks, visitors have a lot to take in.
It's very, very interesting, and I was so impressed.
It's a real pleasure to visit Goree. You never tire of it.
New creations displayed against a historical backdrop. But year-round, the island's heritage listing attracts visitors drawn by its poignant colonial history.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care.